Hey, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. You know, inmendham. One person's observations. Yes. And, whatever. So, a couple of subjects that I think are connected. Anyway, I titled the video something like Life is Weird and Bad. And yeah, I guess I could have said amazing. It's amazing that we're here. It's the whole evolution thing is just kind of miraculous that these machines were created that can do all this fancy shit. And then again, we're not doing anything very fancy with the shit, right? I mean, we have this capacity, this ability to be rational and logical and scientific, and most people aren't doing anything like that. They're just scheming, and doing it rather shabbily and inefficiently, in terms of cutting off, Peter's leg to, whatever, save Paul the trouble of, having to, I don't know, clean a glass or something. Very inefficient. The tiny bits of enhancement in people's quality of life at the huge price of paralyzing people or some other horrible thing. So yeah, it's amazing that the construction is an amazing construction, and we're doing shit with it. Just really pitiful. We're not much better than the pharaohs building pyramids. It just, you can't think of something better to do with all this human resource. We're just squandering it and wasting it on nonsense. And so it's all quite pitiful. A story just for the waste of the amazing capacities. And then on top of that waste, there's this huge waste of torture. I mean, horrible, awful torture. And then there's the context, that is amazing. It is that, we have this biological construction. We have this added advantage of language and, the ability to spend a couple of decades trying to learn how to be a human. And, an extraordinary leap from cat and dog. In terms of added capacity. And again, the dismal byproduct of it is that most people use whatever knowledge they create of they possess of the world. That they don't even use any of it, frankly. I mean, they'll know where Australia is, but it won't mean anything. They won't do anything with the knowledge. So it's all a bunch of useless information, and the important information about how to maximize your blood footprint, how to construct this civilization, all of that is just neglected. So it's an amazing tragedy kind of thing, and just insanely performing so badly. But amazing in its potential, I suppose. Potential is probably the wrong word, because the universe provides you no opportunity to do anything good. I mean, it just provides you opportunity to clean up messes, to prevent bad things. There really isn't anything to fix. Nothing's broken, and therefore we can't show up and rescue anything. We have to basically tie the woman to the track so we can pretend to rescue her. We really didn't show up with a villain already in place. We have to be the villain. We have to create the opportunity for the tragedy so we can go show up and be the fireman and save the day. But we didn't really save anything. We just partially, in a tiny way, cleaned up a tiny bit of the mess we made by being here. Yeah, so it's that story. I've told it before. Yeah, you just change the name of the characters a little bit. But anyway, so leave us play the video. Billions of them. And it's like saying, okay, so I'm making the comparison between the stupid word life doesn't really mean anything, because you can't talk about the evolution of life without making this huge distinction between the single-celled living things and then this new order of community, cellular community, and that we're a bunch of living things being enslaved to create a mechanism that has these just like it parallels the single cell organisms in terms of creating organs and creating pieces that do specific jobs, but it's all we've made it out of, it's the brick versus the building thing. The brick is nothing like the building. And so there's two kinds of evolution. The evolution of the DNA molecule itself inside a single cell, and then the evolution of the complex organism being created out of those cells, those living things. Colony of coral maybe is something like that too. Yeah, so it starts with sponges and corals and community things, and somehow that community turns into something that actually has order and structure, and each one of the little members is being used, to perform service to the colony, kind of like a colony of ants. So that would be like the third, the third evolution would be colony life or something, where you're taking a bunch of organisms that are enslaving cells, and then you start enslaving the multicellular organisms to some sort of social structure, to fight the termite colony, So there's almost, we're not involved really in that third stage of evolution, but but the bugs are. Going to synthesize our consciousness. It's going to make the thing. So the bizarre part is that you take a bunch of these cells, these living things, and you arrange them in an order, and they carry signals to each other, electricity pathways, special neuron cells, and somehow this can now synthesize consciousness. So consciousness isn't happening in the living organisms, the little cells. It's happening to us. The community of cells is creating the structure that creates the consciousness. So it's not really directly related to the chromosomes and the goop and the mitochondria and all that crap. It's just an order or an arrangement of those pieces that end up creating the most significant aspect of building machines, is building a machine that's conscious. A huge, giant change in the robot's status. Error code, all built out of... Oh, and the fact that, yes, it's all built out of, making Frankensteins, just creating a ton of mistakes and errors and copying, and then forcing the copies to kill each other and struggle to win some survival battle, so hundreds of times more losers than winners. And then it gets more and more specific about, well, I'll become a ballerina. All right, so now we're getting to the psychology part of how we're designed to seek and to assign for ourselves a target. I want to be, I need to be, I need to have, and all of us desire something else. We're all hungry for a different kind of chip, salty, sweet, You know, some people want candy, some people want something salty. You know, it's this snack chasing, and so we all assign ourselves a project in life, and you know, get the Lamborghini. You know, sleep with my neighbor's wife. You know, whatever the bullshit is, and we're just trying to find pathways to the target. And the sad truth is that once we arrive at the target, you know, once we get to our holy land, we find it inadequate and go looking for something better. It's you know, my fundamental argument is it's nasty and brutal and cruel, and you know. All right, so I'm trying to find some kind of correct word to use to somehow articulate into words the magnitude and the significance of the horror, of the depth of the misery and torment and torture and pain that we impose to make YouTube videos. You know, to you know, hi neighbor, or you know, whatever the fuck we're doing. You know, eat a snack. You know, torture for this. I mean, oh, pathetic. Keep pretending, you know, that somewhere there's something sensible in it all. Yes, so just this, you know, the conversation is basically like me trying to make this, you know, plea that you apply some logic and recognize that, yes, you are just a robot. Yes, you've been conditioned and essentially controlled by a bunch of silly circumstances that have decided, you know, whether you like girls with big boobs or small boobs, or whether you like this or that, whether blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff has been just contrived into you. You didn't choose to be any of it. You just basically was formed into that shape. You know, you're given certain genetic, you know, faculties or capacities or properties, and you know, your assignment is to whatever, you know, play life, and you're doing it badly because you don't even, you know, the fact is you're not paying attention to the only thing that really matters is, oh, torture is bad, okay, and if that's the price we're paying, we have to reduce that price because it's way too expensive. You know, we don't have the money. You can't afford it. It's beyond your pay grade. Okay, you're not producing enough good to justify the existence of the amount of bad. And getting people to understand the fact of that, and then understand the magnitude. So first, people have to accept that they're running a deficit, and then they have to appreciate just how deep the deficit is, just how overdrawn their checking account is. And I would argue that it's almost impossible to read the number. It's so big. Okay, we're in deep shit trying to justify what the fuck we're doing here. But you really don't, you know. It is distant. So at least it was for me. That's all right. So I was talking a little bit about dying, and you know, the fact that yeah, you know, as you get older, it gets creepier and creepier, and it becomes more real and real. And you know, that's part of just making these arguments is that, you know, when you're young and you're caught up in it and you're doing your own little story, somebody telling you that the Super Bowl doesn't mean anything. Well, you're just not you're not getting it, you know. That going, you know, driving too fast is a silly risk. Well, yes, whatever. So what? You know, you just don't appreciate that. Oh, that's so right. You know, until your family's killed or somebody you care about. You know, it's just casual. Like, okay, it's fun to go a little fast sometimes, until, you know, something happens to forgives you this appreciation that no, every single little notch you know is adding risk, and don't add risk if you don't have to. You're going to constantly be aware of sloppy and reckless and stupid, you know, indulgent, selfish risk taking with other people's welfare. much they're going to cost us, and having to have a mock trial, you know, to prove some asshole who's obviously guilty. Oh, so yeah, I was talking about, you know, the whole building of civilization and how poorly we've done it, and somewhere in that, I banged into the subject of criminals, and just, you know, the bigger obscenity of the criminal is almost the fact that they force us to convict them. You know, I mean, it's bad enough they commit the crime and then not to even fess up to it and take their punishment like a man. No, instead we have to spend zillions of dollars, you know, and take care of them and feed them and do all this horse shit. And it's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense, frankly. You know, they're fucking criminals. No, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure that you would say, no, for a Super Bowl, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to paralyze a kid to watch a Super Bowl game. Yeah, so I'm basically arguing that, yes, you know, if these questions were put to you, if you really had to do it, okay, if you had to give the kid cancer to have what you want, I'm saying that most of you wouldn't do it. You don't have the... You don't have enough confidence that, you know, you can win the argument that you are worth it. And it's just too ugly and too dismal, and you couldn't accept that you actually you did that for your own selfish indulgence, that you tortured a kid, and most of you wouldn't do it. It's just a fact. So why are you voting for it? You know, it doesn't make much sense that you're voting for something you don't have the courage to do. It's like sending it's like sending kids to war when the fact is you're just afraid to go. You know, that's really disgusting. Forcing somebody else to die for your country? No, that's nonsense. Okay. When all the money is on the table, the last hand of poker. Okay, so I was talking about how, you know, if you knew the real game, okay, if you were honest about what happens here, you know, life is basically a trip to Las Vegas, and the absolute fact is that Las Vegas is not going to let you leave with your money. It's going to take every bit of it. So if you knew that going in, that all of it's going to be taken from you, and you're going to be, you know, willed down to nothing and destroyed in a brutal and harsh way, you wouldn't go. And so it's just another truth that if you knew it was guaranteed that that's the outcome, you wouldn't bother. You know, that it's going to strip you of everything, all dignity. You know, it's going to torture you. And the torture is going to be, in some cases, extreme. And nothing is going to be worth it. After it's all said and done, you're going to concede that wasn't worth it. Okay, it's just a fact. You're going to concede it wasn't worth it. The botulism wasn't worth the lovely can of beans. And just living is really hard. I'm... Okay, who knows, but yes, duh. And it just becomes more and more obvious, I guess, is the point. The older you get, the more obvious oh shit, this is such a ripoff. You know, it's just so, it only gets harder and harder, you know, and it's just really irritating. So, I think that's it. So anyway, yeah, so it's just an argument, you know, trying to explain something you probably might have an indication of, that as you go through your life, you do realize that, ooh, I made a whole bunch of mistakes. I mean, at 25, I knew I made a bunch of mistakes at 15. And then at 35, I knew I made a bunch of mistakes at 25. I mean, you know that in hindsight, you always end up looking like you really fucked up. You know, they could have done something so much better. And so you might as well just do that now. You might as well just say now that you're, 25, and just appreciate that everything you think defends your life in some way, in hindsight, once you're 90, you're going to realize, God, you were so full of shit, and you were so trivial, and you were so weak-minded, and you wasted so much fucking time on nonsense. And you're just going to, so I'm just saying you should have some appreciation of that. Now, I went through that process, but I wish somebody, some elder, instead of saying shit like, let's go fishing, instead of saying something useless, I wish they would have said to me, oh yeah, the game just gets worse and worse. And so, just appreciate that. Just like how, when you're a kid, Christmas is all, fantastic, and then it turns into almost nothing. Life does that. And so don't waste your time, thinking you need and you want now. All that is bullshit. And just think about how to maximize your efficiency, because in the end, that's all you're going to worry about or care about is how much value did I squander? How much wasted suffering did I cause because I just couldn't give a shit? Because I was too busy playing a video game. That kind of shit. And you should just be aware of that and appreciate that you're really not getting, that this isn't going to end well. Your story is not going to be a marvelous story. It's not. And you shouldn't be sitting there hyping the bullshit because you haven't done the botulism part. I mean, selling the crap when you haven't been killed by it is kind of bullshit. Yeah, it's just bullshit. So all you pro-lifers who haven't died yet, I mean, fuck you. You're selling a product for which you have no appreciation for what it's actually, how brutally it's going to rape you. You dumb fuck. Alright, so that's probably a nice ending line. Whatever. So, so that's the challenge is attempting to somehow, somehow make something that's, people just laugh off, serious. And that's always tricky. Again, I mean, I don't know what somebody could have told me when I was 11 years old, to have me fully appreciate what an asshole I was doing by smoking the first cigarette. I mean, the first one, you have to try it because, you got to know what it's about. And you just don't appreciate how slippery that slope is. That after about 3 cigarettes, you're hooked. You're fucked. I mean, it's probably a few more than that. I mean, it's easier to quit when you barely started, and I really should have done that. And, it's regrettable, but not much I could do about it now. Because now it's just, I can't even imagine my heart beating without nicotine in my bloodstream. But anyway, and that's, the tragedy of the addictions. But yes, it's before you get hooked is the part where you got to catch people before they become assholes. Because once they're assholes, the defense mechanism will kick in and they have to just defend being an asshole. They'll have to come up with a rationalization that makes it okay to be an asshole because that's what they are now. And that's really hard to fix with words. It's very hard because I'm just saying from my own experience, I wasn't very easily persuaded of some of the facts of life. I had to learn them through the whole, doing it thing. Alright, anyway, so till the next time and such, and so forth, and whatnot. Yeah. enough.